Okay, good morning, everybody. Good morning. My name is Heather Larson, and I am most blessed to serve as council president. I want to warmly welcome you to our annual meeting, to those here in person who will be voting, and also for those viewing on live stream. I'm calling this meeting to order. Today, we're going to hear a brief review of 2025, which is a strong year of impact and results on multiple fronts, a year to celebrate and give thanks. And we'll also today hear a bit more about the 2026 ministry plans and budget. Today at this meeting, we'll ask for you to accept our 2026 plan with your vote. This plan has been reviewed and unanimously approved by our St. Philip the Deacon Church Council in January. I want to thank you in advance for your continued strong support of our efforts here and of that plan. But first things first, let's open our meeting with a devotion by Pastor Tim.
Great. Thank you, Heather. And welcome, everyone, whether you're here in person or online. I am reflecting on the fact that our gospel for this weekend is the gospel that talks about how we're called to be salt and light, which is, of course, the title of our current 3-year appeal, which we're now entering the 2nd year of. So I want to just reflect on that and then have that point us to a different gospel reading, which I'll mention in a second. So again, today's gospel from Matthew 5 says, among other things, "You are the salt of the earth, and you are the light of the world." And then concludes with, "Let your light shine before others so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father who is in heaven." We say those words at every baptism, by the way, so they may sound particularly familiar to you. But the point is to reflect back God's salt and God's light back to the world so that people in the world know who God is. That made me think of John 17, which is a long prayer by Jesus called the High Priestly Prayer, where, among other things, Jesus prays for his followers, that's us, to be one. He mentions that a number of times in this prayer, and I'll read it to you. And I've been reflecting a lot, and I preached about this a little bit last week, on how we're called as Christians to be united in Jesus, right? United not because we're all of like mind about everything, but because we're called to be children of the one God. So here's Jesus praying very shortly before he's going to be put to death. And again, I'm segmenting a short section of this, but this is chapter 17, verse 18. "As you, God, have sent me, Jesus, into the world, so I have sent them into the world. And for their sakes I sanctify myself so that they may also be sanctified in truth. I ask not only on behalf of these, that would be his followers, but also on behalf of those who will believe in me through their word." So in other words, I'm asking on behalf of the people standing in front of me, my disciples, but also asking on behalf of all those who will follow on their footsteps, right? So that includes us, it includes the people who will follow us thanks to our testimony. And then he says this, so I ask not only on behalf of these, my disciples, but also on behalf of those who will believe in me through their word, that they may all be one, okay? And then he says, "As you, Father, are in me and I am in you, may they also be in us," and here we have again that, so that the world may believe that you have sent me. "The glory that you have given me, I have given them, so that they may again be one, as we are one, in them and you and me, that they may become completely one, again, so that the world may know that you have sent me and have loved them, even as you have loved me." So it strikes me, and I've talked about this in many ways for a long time, but in maybe the last month or two with our leadership teams, with members of the church. Here at St. Philip the Deacon, we are united in I'm not going to use the word unique way. There are other places like us, but an atypical way in today's world, which is broken, divided, polarized, tribal. And that unity, as suggested by both of those passages, is part of what allows us to be salt and light, okay? It's not simply the words we say, it's not the actions that we take in the world, although those are important, but it's partially the fact that we are connected as one body, united together in Jesus, that we are able to witness to God's love in the world. Does that make sense to you? And so one of the many, many things I celebrate today, and I do celebrate all kinds of things about this wonderful congregation, is precisely the unity that we share in Jesus. So let's pray about that. Good and loving God, as we heard again today, you call us to be salt and light in your world. I pray that we may indeed reflect your love and your grace and your wisdom and your kindness back out into the world, not least by the fact that you call us also to be united in you. And I pray that we may always remember that importance. And all this we pray in your holy name. Amen. All right.
Thank you. Okay, so our first order of business today is to accept the minutes of last year's annual meeting. So you will find the minutes of last year's meeting on page 28 of the annual report. First, I'll ask, are there any questions or comments or corrections to these minutes? Hearing none, I'd like to ask, will someone please move to accept the 2025 annual meeting minutes? Thank you. Motion is made. Is there a second? Thank you. We have a second. And now we vote in this room. All in favor of accepting the 2025 annual meeting minutes, please say aye. Aye. Are there any opposed? Okay, thank you. The motion carries and the 2025 minutes are now approved. The next order of business today is to hear from Greg Lindberg, a member of our church council and our treasurer, who will offer an update on our 2025 financials.
Thank you, Heather. And first off, I just want to say that it's an honor to serve as the treasurer of the church, and it's a true blessing just to be part of this wonderful faith community. So the treasurer's report is on page 26 of the annual report. You don't need to follow along or read it. I'm going to give kind of a summarized recap of that right now. So overall, 2025 was a very good year financially for St. Philip the Deacon. We finished the year with a net bottom line surplus of $103,000. And we ended the year with cash on hand of $905,000. So we continue to be well positioned to meet future obligations and to carry out the mission of the church. And this is a clear reflection on the incredibly generous congregation that we have here at St. Philip the Deacon, as well as the diligent financial oversight that we have from the executive team, the church council, and especially to Pastor Tim and the entire staff. And I do want to say a special thank you to Mo Hagastoon. In the back, Mo, thank you so much for all you do for the day-to-day accounting function. It's truly appreciated. Now I'll touch on some of the main highlights of 2025. Regarding the cash receipts, we saw an overall increase over 2024 of $363,000, or 9%, which is due to the general fund contributions increasing $301,000 and special gifts increasing $403,000 from 2024. And regarding expenses, total expenses increased $410,000, or 10% from 2024, and this was mainly due to the following. We had an increase in administration expense, and this was due to payments for services for rebuilding and redesigning the church's website, which will be completed in 2026. We had an increase in the worship and music expense line item, and that was due to the purchase of the new altar cloths and the vestments for Advent, Christmas, and Easter. Then we had an increase in the building operations expense, and that was due to the purchase of new windows, doors, and furnishings for the houses that the church owns, for the purchase of new carpeting tile throughout the church, and payments for audio and visual improvements in both Fellowship Hall and the sanctuary. So in closing, this church continues to be healthy in many ways, including financially. And of course, that's thanks to all of you and this wonderful faith community that we have here at St. Philip the Deacon. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Let me add my thanks both to Mo, who's our staff finance administrator, and to Greg. Thank you for your service as our treasurer. I'm just going to add sort of a little color commentary, I guess, or highlights extending on what Greg just said about last year, and then a little bit of an overview of as we look to the future. Let me begin, though, by saying it is really important as an organization, as an institution, that we talk about our finances and do so transparently and openly, and we reflect, as Greg has just done, the generosity of this amazing congregation and how we steward your gifts. The church, though, as I've said this many times, it's not first and foremost about budgets. It's not first and foremost about buildings. It's about the body of Christ, who is called out, as I've already mentioned, to be salt and life in the world, salt and light in the world. That said, you can't have mission without margin, right? So the things we're talking about today are important, but they're not the most important thing. Does that make sense? All right. So a little color commentary again. I would just add so some of the highlights financially, which of course tell a deeper story of health and vitality, I think, would be the, and again, you have, I'm sort of putting words to the numbers you have in the annual report, but we had an 11.6 increase in our annual fund year over year, which is amazing. So that's one real highlight from last year. We had a very large increase in special gifts. I'll get to that in a second. That was in part, or it was exclusively because, as Greg mentioned, we had some unexpected expenses, one-time expenses in 2025, which weren't even really anticipated as part of the 3-year capital appeal that we are in. And so the good news there is that we were able to attend to those important one-time expenses. And the equally good news is that generous members of the church, when asked to help us to cover those one-time expenses, responded very generously. So thus we have that, I think it's a 185% increase in the special gift line item, which will not be, unless, I don't anticipate that's going to be replicated next year. Again, Greg went through some of those things. We had expenses in maintenance. We had some furnishings here in the sanctuary. We had AV systems that were upgraded and improved on. Bottom line, again, the generosity of this congregation meant that we were left with a little over $100,000 to the good in 25, which none of us should take for granted and which I celebrate with all of you. So thank you for a fabulous and slightly, again, unusual 2025, again, in the sense of having some one-time special expenses. 26, if you look at the ministry plan, I would say and actually, maybe if I could make, I should make 2 other comments about last year. One, you'll see the mortgage, the debt service is effectively flat year over year, and I don't want to forget that is a result of a lot of really intentional and careful planning about how we manage our mortgage. I cannot tell you the number of conversations I've had over the last 2, 3, 4 years as we anticipated a mortgage rate reset. Our council, our executive team were actively involved in that. And so you may recall we paid down, I think that it was $540,000 in principal last year, which allowed the P&I, the principal and interest payments, to be flat. We shouldn't forget that or overlook that. That's part of our financial health. It's part of how we tend to our financial health. Also, I will point out, and this is a separate note in the annual report, is our foundation, which has been operating really now in its current form maybe for, what would it be, 10, 12 years, and now has over $1 million in it. And so that's, again, it's a separate 501c3 that's associated with the church. It exists for the benefit of the church, and the fact that that continues to grow and support the ministry and mission of St. Philip is also a wonderful thing. So looking ahead, again, I would say that what we've outlined here are, I think, reasonable, but maybe even conservative estimates in terms of giving. So you'll see giving is down slightly. That's a function of special gifts expected to be lower than last year. Again, we're planning on that, and there's nothing to worry about there. Programming also overall is down, as are building operations for the reasons I've already mentioned, that we don't have some of those unexpected one-time expenses in 26. Turns out they're unexpected because you can't expect them, though. So as we stand here today, this is our best and reasonable assumption about what next year will look like. And again, assuming all of the assumptions that build this ministry plan are accurate, we would anticipate we would end the year about the same as we did this year in terms of in the black. So I'm happy to take questions about that. Before I do, I will just say, we could be a very long time with me saying thank you to people here, and maybe I'm already repeating myself, but I do want to just say you are members of this church, most of you who are in this room, so you're representing all the other members. This congregation is an unbelievably faithful and generous and giving congregation. So one, I give thanks for our members who support the mission and ministry of this congregation so well. I do also give thanks for my pastoral colleagues, Valerie and Mark are here. Michaela, I don't know if you're at home watching. If you are, hope things are going well with Vivian. You all know she gave birth just before Christmas to their second child. So we look forward to having you back here in whatever it is, in a month or two. I'm very grateful to our staff, some of whom are here. I'm not going to name all of them because there are too many of them, but one of the sort of narratives that is underneath the numbers of last year is, after a year of a lot of transition in 24, again, not bad transition, just sort of part of the life cycle of organizations, we had a year of stability, a year of newer members sort of getting their feet underneath them, becoming a cohesive team as a new staff. And again, I've been here, I'm approaching 20 years now, I guess, and taking nothing away from all of the fabulous, wonderful, gifted staff who I've been working with from the start. I can say, I think without qualification, our current staff is the best staff we've ever had at St. Philip the Deacon. So that's a real, I'm seeing some smiles from some of our staff, except you two guys. And also, again, I want to be sure to thank our leadership teams, which include the council. I'll say more about our council later in the meeting, but I do want to lift up our executive team, many of whom are here today. So Beth Jacob, Bob Paulson, Tom Abrahamson, Heather Larson is ex officio member of the executive team as council president. Not here are Lana Jones and John Schultz and, oh, is that it? Just, yeah, I guess those two. But the executive team, and this is true with the council too, do a lot of work behind the scenes. I've said this to these two groups directly, but I cannot overstate the amount of trust on those teams. And that is a huge reason for the health of this congregation, truly. Leadership is really important in an organization. And I promise you, we have unbelievable leaders who are actively involved in thinking about how we go about our business day in and day out, week in and week out, month in and month out. So if you would thank the executive team on my behalf, the ones who are here, and if they're watching. So please, thank you to the executive team. And again, I'll have some more words about the council later, but I guess I'm going to turn it over now to you, Heather, to offer whatever reflections you have.
Okay, thank you, Greg and Pastor Tim, for the updates today. As you've heard, there is a lot of good news about last year's results. We can celebrate and give thanks for a year of growth, vitality, and impact across our ministries, our programs, and giving. God has great plans for St. Philip the Deacon. We are positioned well for where God is leading us. So I want to say thank you to our pastor's staff and all of you across our congregation for making this community of faith so very special. I was thinking about what you might want to hear about from me as a council president today. So I'd like to share 3 observations from my second year as council president that I hope you'll find helpful and insightful. Those comments are around teamwork, they're around progress in our priorities, and around St. Philip the Deacon health. So first, we are blessed beyond measure with exceptional pastors and truly talented, dedicated staff. And of course, you already knew that, right? But what I want to really tell you is the teamwork, creativity, and collaboration that we've witnessed this year as a church council has risen to new heights, and that has been exciting to watch and to feel. As the council has met with the pastors, all of them, and select staff this year, it's been so easy to see that our talent is great, the teamwork is strong, and the vision that these people are putting into leading their areas is exciting and it's inspiring. And I bet you can read that across the narratives in the annual plan. So for many of you that in your own businesses have led through change in your workplaces, isn't this what we all hope for? That we recruit the very best people, full of talent and aligned to the mission, values, and culture, that we build good teamwork and then just stand back and let these great people shine. That's what's happening this year. That's what we're seeing. And so, Pastor Tim, I want to have a special thank you to you for your leadership and shepherding of this amazing team. To our pastors and staff, we are so very thankful for each and every one of you, whether you've been here a year or a few decades. We see your commitment, your creativity, your talent, your strong leadership and teamwork. We're excited for where we're headed. We're so thankful for you. My second point is really about progress and priorities. So our ministry priority investment areas are developing well. Our church council gets regular updates on these ministries, and the progress is so exciting to see. It's kind of like watching seeds start to germinate. Of course, we know we're just getting started. For example, in our family life ministry with Pastor Michaela, we see new families, more of them, more energetic kids, and more ways for our families to connect. And I think the children's service on Christmas Eve was a great example that I saw. I believe we had over 650 people there at that service that Mark helped lead, and others on the children's ministry team. And I can attest to seeing hundreds of St. Philip the Deacon children learning about the Christmas story, and all of them, including our 3-year-old grandson, ringing their jingle bells as loudly and as often as possible. That brought great joy for me to see. Similarly, it's easy to see that our St. Philip the Deacon music program is becoming really a center of excellence. Our choirs are growing. The music, in my opinion, so enriches our worship. The venues to hear great music are ample, and so I just love what Sam and team are doing here. And the third one I wanted to call out is our adult ministry is also making some significant progress with many great learning opportunities underway. Jen is doing a terrific job, and she is a wonderful teacher. We're excited for what's next. My third point is that St. Philip the Deacon, like Tim said, is a healthy and vibrant congregation. You've heard that many times, I know. What I'm here to tell you is we realize as a council that is special and increasingly uncommon amongst our peer churches. Our culture at St. Philip the Deacon is something to be understood, preserved, and held dear. Our pastors regularly tell us that St. Philip the Deacon is healthy and vibrant. And as a church council, Pastor Tim prioritizes time for us each and every year to review and discuss our church mission, values, and strategy. We talked regularly as a church council about what makes St. Philip the Deacon special and important to each of us. This past year, Pastor Tim also shared with our council different ELCA reports and demographics that reveal that the vitality of St. Philip the Deacon is very special and not necessarily the norm. There are sobering headwinds that many congregations are facing. So as a church council, Pastor Tim leads us through regular discussions about our congregation. He asks for and values our input. Our 9 terrific council members bring a lot of really good and varied perspective. We each have different career expertise and experiences. We're in different life stages. We worship across our different services. We engage in different programming here. We have different tenure at St. Philip the Deacon. Some, like me, we can measure in decades, and some we can measure in a couple years. And they're equally as important in that point of view. Our unique perspectives, we know, make us better. But what we all agree on is that St. Philip the Deacon is healthy and a special place. We all love it here. We mean it when our St. Philip the doors say, "Welcome home." St. Philip the Deacon is for everyone. St. Philip the Deacon welcomes us all in to learn, to be inspired, to be supported. And then St. Philip the Deacon calls us to go out and, like Tim said, be the salt and light of God for our neighbors. So our conversations center on what is working at St. Philip the Deacon. How do we grow it? How do we share it? I have witnessed the love and dedication that our council members have for this church. Their input is important, sought after, and valued. Their faithful and steadfast support this year has been so appreciated. Thank you to each and every person on our church council. I also want to call out the strong and steady strategic leadership of Pastor Tim. It's an honor to support your vision and work. So in summary, the vision, plans, programming, alignment, and energy the council sees across our pastors and staff is really special and energizing. 2025 was a very good year. I'm excited for all there is to come in 2026 and beyond, and for leading forward for St. Philip the Deacon to be an even bigger blessing in our community and world. So on behalf of our entire council, I want to thank our congregations for their prayers, their trust, and generosity all along the way. Thank you. And so that brings us to our next piece of work to do together today, and that is time to vote to accept our 2026 ministry plan, one that has already been unanimously approved by the Church Council in late January. So let's start first asking, are there any other questions you have for Pastor Tim on our 2026 ministry plan? Yes, in the back.
Yeah, my name is Bruce Warner. I've been a member for 42 years. My question, the Wayzata School District is still growing. We're growing like crazy. We've had enormous leadership for the last 40 years. My question is posed to the council and to Tim in itself. Are we destined to become another Mount Olivet church with 6 or 8 ministers? I mean, what is the vision beyond 1 year, and what is the workload demand already on place of our staff, which is extraordinarily competent in the council? What is the plan beyond? I mean, what is the vision for more than 1 year for the workload that you see our church is going to have to respond to if the community continues growing the way we have the last 40 years? It's a really open-ended question, and I'll accept an answer from either one.
Sure. You want me to take that? Yeah. So for those of you at home who, thank you, Bruce Warner, longtime member, for the question. The question was basically, the Wayzata School District is growing. by leaps and bounds. Apparently, they're building new schools, and St. Philip, as we've talked about, is healthy. What happens when we grow? I'm paraphrasing here, but what happens when we grow beyond the capacity of our current staff? Is that a fair way to summarize your question, Bruce? Yeah. Okay. I would say we will respond accordingly.
You're already working 60 hours.
I don't know if that he said we're already working 60 hours. You know, I might push gently back on that, if I might. Again, one of the words we use repeatedly here is health, right? We're a healthy church. I'm going to speak for myself, and it turns out my opinion matters, I guess, because I'm the senior pastor. I don't think a healthy church can be led by a dysfunctional or unhealthy staff, okay? And so one of the things that's really important in this work of ministry, whether you're ordained or whether you're one of our staff members, is some kind of healthy balance in our lives. Now, that's always impossible to get precisely right, and in this kind of work, it kind of ebbs and flows, and there are times of the year where you're right, we might be working 60 hours, but it's not every day and it's not every week. And I think we actually, again, you can talk to the rest of staff and see if they agree with me. I think we do a pretty good job, actually, of calibrating really exceptional work, high expectations for excellence, with a recognition that that can't be sustained if we're burning the candle at both ends. So I think that in terms of where we are right now as a staff, we're calibrated pretty well to the size of the congregation. If we double in 2 years, you know, we will readjust what we're doing. But I don't lose sleep about that at all, okay? Is that a fair response? Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Other questions? Thank you, Bruce, for that. Yes.
Regular strategic planning?
The question is, do we do regular strategic planning? We do, and we talk about this at every new member class, actually. We're still in the we have a strategic plan we're currently working off of. It doesn't have a shelf life until Jesus returns. I'm not exactly sure when the shelf life expires, but we are considering, I think, when it will be time to do a new one. So yeah, the one we're working with now, though, is still applicable, and I will say, actually, we did it a little before COVID. It became even more applicable during and through COVID, and it remains meaningful today. Is that fair? Okay.
Great question. Thank you. Other questions? Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. So hearing no more questions, may I please have a motion to accept the 2026 ministry plan as you see in your annual report? Thank you. Motion's made. May I have a second, please? Thank you. So now it's time to vote. All in favor of accepting the 2026 ministry plan reviewed and unanimously approved by the SPD Church Council, please say aye. Aye. Thank you. Are there any opposed? Great. The motion carries and the 2026 ministry plan is approved. Thank you so much for your support. So I'll turn now the meeting back to Pastor Tim to recognize some people.
Okay. Thank you. So I've mentioned our executive team. I'm going to say another word now about our wonderful council. You have their names on the agenda, and some of them are here. So I'm going to read the names of those whose terms began in 24 or 25. Bob Danielson, Beth Gurink, Heather Larson, Kari Marshall. Kari's back here. Dan Narvison where's Dan? He's in the back with his daughter. Corinne Reed, I saw earlier, is here, and Greg Lindberg. So will you join me in thanking them, first of all, for their wonderful service? And then I'm going to thank our outgoing members in a second, but before I do, I'm going to welcome our incoming members, each of whom I asked to send me a few words about who they are, just so you can know. So the first is Christina Drew, and Heather mentioned we do work really hard on our council to have Well, I'll say this, it skews younger, in part because our primary target, if you want to call it that, for new members is younger people. So the council by age skews younger, but we do like to keep a balance of male and female and a balance of people who've been here for a long time and newer people. So both of our new members are a little more recent to the church, and I'll start with Christina Drew. Christina, if you would stand, and I'm going to read what you wrote me just so I don't get any of it wrong. Christina Drew is originally from Detroit Lake. She's been living in Brooklyn Park with her husband Ryan, who's sitting next to her. Hello, Ryan. For the last 5 years. They started coming to SPD about 3 years ago and officially became members last August. She's director of event planning at the JW Marriott in Minneapolis and has a passion for hospitality and bringing people together. She writes she's honored to be a part of the church council and looking forward to getting more involved in serving this community. So we welcome Christina. And then John Rudy is here. John Rudy has been a member of St. Philip Deacon since 2018, so a little before that new marker we all use to tell time, COVID. He moved to Plymouth in 2017, has been married to his wife Jess, who I presume is off somewhere else, for 12 years. They have 3 children, ages 10, 7, and almost 4. He works as a wealth planner, is active in the Wednesday Men's Fellowship Group, and enjoys playing chess. So will you say hello to John? So thank you both for your willingness to serve. And what do you, Mark?
Chris had to leave, but he's online.
Oh. Okay. So the last 2 people I was going to thank are Chris Beach, who apparently, Chris, hello, and Erica Milne, who I don't believe is with us. Erica is one of the ones on the other end of the spectrum. She was literally baptized here as an infant. So Chris and Erica, wherever you may be, I have a small gift for you, which you can pick up when you see me next. But thank you both for your wonderful and faithful service. The congregation is very grateful to you. So will you join me in thanking them? And I think that's all we have, yeah? So thank you for being here. Thanks to those of you who are online. If I could invite you to stand, we will conclude, as we always conclude our meetings, with the Lord's Prayer. Lord, remember us in your kingdom and teach us to pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Thank you all. Go in peace. Serve the Lord.